your magnificent church and state conferences were running during the Voice to Parliament campaign. Now, during this time, you had the opportunity to work with Warren Mundine and Senator Jacinta Price. Tell us, Dave, were you shocked at the way these Indigenous Conservatives were treated during the Voice to Parliament by the activists who claimed, obviously falsely, to be arguing from the side of kindness?
Shocked, I hope so. We should always be shocked at extreme hate and vilification of people based on their skin colour, but not surprised. This is fairly old hat. I've been working with Jacinta and Warren for many years and have worked together on various platforms. I've produced and hosted a show with Warren a couple of years ago called Truth Telling. And, you know, there was a lineup of right-thinking Indigenous Australians who frequently told their accounts of being given all kinds of racial epithets by people who believe it's okay if their own skin colour is black. And so this double standard is shocking, but not surprising. It seems to be an outplaying of the conflict theory, which is instead of setting capitalists against workers, it's setting minorities against majorities. And so if anybody's in any kind of majority demographic, they're necessarily evil and immoral and have all kind of character flaws. But those same behaviours which are being criticised are completely licensed and excused in anybody belonging to a minority group. And so it's okay if you're leftist and black to call somebody else horribly racist names and completely dismiss and cancel their arguments and sincerity based on the fact that they disagree with you and have another skin colour. So, you know, all the names like Uncle Tom's and In It for the Money, you know, they were fast and furious, and you know, in the aftermath of the election, we didn't see any kind of honest self-reflection, which is consistent with the way they conducted the campaign.
Well, I think it might actually be a little bit worse than having minorities pitted against the majority. The majority of quiet Australians is a voting bloc which the left and the Marxists can't get anywhere with. But if they manage to hack that majority down into groups of ideological ideas in conflict with each other, so women and Indigenous activists and all sorts of other ideas, well, then that makes it easier for activists on the left to chip away at Australians because we're no longer a united front. So I think that might actually be even worse than what we think. Now, we talk a lot about apologies to Indigenous people in this country. Do you think, given what you've seen and how it has affected people like Warren and Jacinta, that the Yes campaign, and particularly the Prime Minister, should apologise for what happened and what he brought upon the Australian people, and especially also for the behaviour of the ABC, which we pay our tax money for, not so that Indigenous people can be harassed and treated that way? Are they owed an apology?
They absolutely are, and it shouldn't take a right of centre observer to see that. There was nothing short of hubris involved in the way Anthony Albanese conducted the campaign. It was about political capital for him and not about conviction. He washes it as conviction, but it was just stubbornness, and they may look the same, but they're motivated very differently. If he was a conviction politician, he would have sought to build consensus before going to a referendum. But again, we have this conflict theory, this Marxist ideology, which says you have to do whatever a particular protected minority tells you to do. And so on one hand, you had blacktivists complaining that 97% of the population would dare to presume to tell 3% of the population how to live, when in actual fact what they were seeking to do was impose the will of a portion of 3% of the population on 100% of the population. And we know that the way democracy works is that 100% of the people get a say on the life of everybody in the nation. That's just the way it's always worked. It's never been a tyranny of racial minority, but it's always been one vote, one value, first majority rules kind of democracy. So for them to not conduct the campaign in a way that was bipartisan and seeking consensus so that something might succeed, and instead to try and ram down a minority opinion, that was abusive. And it was destructive to the nation and to the fabric of democracy and debate. And the Prime Minister is certainly no longer fit for purpose. He is not fit for the job. He should resign because if not, the nation should throw him out on his butt.